The query editor is the data preparation part, so actually this is a step ahead of the actual data model. As I said, whenever you start Power BI Desktop, you are in the report view in the data model. To access the query editor, you can simply click onto this button right here, this one. With that, we learned that already, a new window will open, so a tool inside the tool, so to say, the query editor. And this part is all about the data preparation, the connection to the source files, and about shaping our data. The interface in the query editor looks a bit different, though the general structure when it comes to 4 different core areas is kind of the same. You again have some ribbons up here, you have the actual content in the center of the screen, and then you have information to the left and to the right here. Let's again get started with the information to the left, this queries column. The queries column simply shows you all connections you have to source files. In our case, we have a single connection to the GDP data file and the corresponding data it contains. Therefore, we have one query here. In the right part of the screen, you can access settings related to this query. First, we can change the name right here if you want to, so you can simply type something right here, press enter, then the name gets updated. I won't change the name at this stage though. And you have the applied steps. The applied steps are a very important feature because undoing steps, as we just saw it in the data model, is not possible. But this applied steps is actually a way more powerful tool because you can undo steps by clicking onto this X symbol right here. Or you can even jump back to previous steps by clicking onto the step here in this column, like this. Now we are one step ahead of renaming our columns, as you can see it right here. If you want to jump back, just click right there. So the columns here to the left and to the right are all about managing our queries, our connections to the source files. In the center of the screen, we have the data loaded into Power BI Desktop. We talked about this already. And above this table, you have this formula bar. This formula bar is the code behind our applied steps because all these steps are applied via a specific programming language, you could say, the M language, also covered later throughout the course. And as Power BI is a user-oriented tool, we don't have to write code on our own. We can though, but we don't have to. And if you want to see what's behind these steps, you can see this here in this formula bar. By the way, if you can't see this formula bar, you can go to this view ribbon up here and simply activate it right there. Now it's disabled, now it's enabled. Same thing applies for the query settings. In case you cannot see this column, just disable or enable it right there. And this brings us already to the ribbons once again. As you can see, the ribbons look different when comparing it to the ones we saw in the data model. And here in the query editor, the ribbons are very important as these ribbons contain all the actions we can apply to our actual data here in the query editor. You just saw this here with the view ribbon where you can specify which type of information should be displayed. You again have a home ribbon with some core tools like connecting Power BI Desktop to data sources or working on columns or rows. But you also have some detailed options here as we saw it in the data model. So for example, the transform part here, where you can use the first row as headers, as we did it already in the introduction project. If you want to dive deeper into transforming, then simply go to the transform ribbon. Here you have lots of options, all related to transforming or shaping data. Of course, we'll have a look at all these options throughout the course. It's just important to keep in mind that interactions with the actual data are applied either via the ribbons up here or via right-clicking onto a specific part in the actual data. So these are the two ways how you can interact with your data. Finally, we have some options not directly related to the data. At first, it's the save option right here. You notice already, if you do so, you can save your current status of the report. And we again have file options to save the file or to access the options in general. And you have close and apply or close. These are options to leave the query editor. For the moment, we can just click close and apply to do so. With that, we are back in the data model. And as we now saw the interface of the query editor and this data model, it's now time to dive into the recommended settings and also to create a blueprint project file, which we can use to follow along this course conveniently.